Senior Report thanks Edmund Besch of Bristol Burgess Insurance Agency, 65 East Main Street, Westfield, for his generous grant to provide news to seniors. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Funding is provided by a grant from Absolute Care of Westfield, committed to returning the favor to those who spent a lifetime caring for others. Absolute Care is located at 26 Cass Street in Westfield. Dave Cass and Rick Newell provide funding on behalf of the Lakeview Hotel and Restaurant at the Docks, located on Water Street near the lake in Mayville. Senior Report with Reed Powers thanks Westfield's Schultz Chevy for a generous grant to inform seniors of important news. Over 50 years of service to Westfield by Chevrolet, Schultz Chevy across from the school. The physicians of Jamestown Primary Care are happy to sponsor the Senior Report. From the Access Channel 5 television studio in Mayville, it's Senior Report with Reed Powers. Senior Report is broadcast live throughout northern Chautauqua County on Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. each week. Call in and share a thought, make a comment, ask a question, or simply wish someone a happy birthday on Chautauqua County's only live call-in senior program. Since 1995, Reed has been bringing viewers hundreds of interesting guests, informing the community on a variety of subjects. Here's the host of the show, Reed Powers.
And good morning. What a beautiful day. What a great day in Chautauqua County, the most beautiful county, and it's 59 degrees outside. You guys from Florida, aren't you happy? It turns out that, you know, when the French came through here eons ago and buried all that gold up in the hill around, around Lyons Road, which has not been found. Everybody looks for it every year. The French said, "This is paradise. We are at the Garden of Eden," and it's still the same, friends. All right, we have an illustrious guest with us. We have a man running for Congress in our district because there's been changes in the districts, and the 29th became the 23rd, and anyway, we'll let him tell you about it. And his name is, he's another Reed, Tom Reed, and he's going to be here to talk about things in Congress. This is not an election campaign program, but we will talk about his work in Congress. He is currently a congressman from the what is it? Which district now?
29th.
29th, okay. And so he's a kid from upstate. You went to Alfred, right?
I did, Alfred University.
Alfred University, that's different from Alfred State, or is it?
That's right across the hill. My wife went to Alfred State.
Well, my daughter did too.
Oh, great school.
Yeah, became a nurse. She's one of the top ICU nurses over in Hammett in Erie, which is a big hospital there. Okay, anyway, lots of things happening. Of course, you watch TV. It's enough to drive you nuts what's going on in Congress, among other places. But the big news today, of course, is Ryan is now going to be the vice presidential campaigner with Mr. Romney. And we have, it's going to be exciting. This is going to be a great, great campaign. It's already started out explosive, and we'll see what goes on further. You must know Ryan pretty well. Huh?
I do know Paul. I serve on the Ways and Means Committee, and he's on the committee with me, and he's a good guy, and a big time hunter and fisherman too.
Right. Yeah. They mentioned the fact somebody called him. And he said, "Leave me alone. I'm right now hunting, and I'm in a place waiting for his deer. You know,
yeah.
Don't mess me around." Okay. So, well, Obama, of course, he's attacking on the fact that that Romney is sharper. Everybody's telling us how he collapsed businesses and made a lot of money and let people die because they didn't have health insurance anymore and all this. This is pretty much nonsense, but Romney's coming back saying you don't know how to run the country, the budget, or anything else. It's a total disaster. And of course, the reply to that is pretty simple. It was that way when I found it. You guys left it that way. But at any rate, it just goes on, and we'll have to see what happens here. All right, we have, let's see, locally, New York State is in again, we still have to scratch up some dough. And the Chautauqua County, where we sit, as you know, happens to be the most highly taxed county in the United States. And they have a shortfall of at least 4 million, we think. So we're going to have, they lost 10 million, but they discovered it and found 10 million. So now it's gone from 14 million shortfall to 4. And that's got to be held. There's only one way to do it, and that's taxes. You can't raise the tax rate. You can't, so there's no way they can increase their sales taxes. So what taxes are going to be? Your house, again. Okay, enough of that. The good news is Chautauqua County is the best place to live in the United States, as well as the most highly taxed. I've got some good stuff here. Seniors, we have a terrific bunch of senior groups here. And let me talk about a few of them, the ones that star this week. We've got the Dunkirk Senior Citizens, and Barbara Badjadas is the one who's in charge of that. That's their board, and they announced that they're having an ice cream social August 15th, beginning at 6 p.m. So get over there, guys. And anybody who wants to join them, it's easy to do. They're getting pizza, too. Nancy Crandall tells us the Pinochle is going well on Monday. They have regular games, Pinochle, bridge, and other card games. The Seneca Niagara Casino bus trip on September 11th is sold out. Seniors, remember, when you go down there, they're going to give you free chips, usually $10. They give you a free lunch chip for another $20 or whatever. So you were tempted to gamble. Well, go down and use your free chips. But if you lose, walk away. If you win, walk away. Don't gamble, because it's fixed. Casinos are fixed for the casino. The only people that make money in casinos are the owners. All right, so they've changed their meetings over there at Dunkirk Senior Center, which has a gorgeous center, huge, big school, old school. They're going to be meeting on second Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. And Zumba classes are going on. Zumba, I think they give most seniors a heart attack, from what I see on television. Okay. I just wanted to say the next meeting over there is September 13th, 9 a.m. Lakeshore Senior Citizens. They meet at the Dunkirk Center regularly, and the president is Barb Barbarich, and you must all know her in the area. She's worked very hard. Next meeting will be September 5th. There'll be no meetings on August 15th, you know, the regular meetings, because they have an ice cream social, and they have a trip to Atlantic City, again, a casino trip. One of the best things for seniors is casino trips. Oh, you can't beat it. Mainly because they're lucky. Sheridan Happies over in Sheridan, they meet at the John Bosco Hall, and they have a huge bunch over there. Ellen Suttle, you know her. She is the one who turns the key. They made a donation to the Sheridan Fire Department in honor of Dean Warner, a great senior who just passed away. They sent a thank you note to the Hamlet Farms for homegrown muskmelons for the members. And ladies, you notice that there's a big ad for improving your skin and taking the wrinkles out. And the secret is the muskmelon. They put muskmelon. So I'd say just go buy a real ripe one and squash it on your face. And you'll save a bunch, because that stuff costs a lot of money. They're going to join everybody, and remember, there's going to be 500 to 1,000, God knows, 500 legally or 550 at the August 10th big picnic for seniors at Midway Park in Mayville. Midway Park is not quite in Mayville, I don't think. I think it's a little over the board there. President Suttle invited everyone to lunch at 11:45 at St. Columban's. They're having a group meeting over there. Next meeting for the Sheridan seniors, and they have a Sheridan Happy Senior song. I got to bring them in here and have them sing. any rate, Food Committee will be August 17th. Pat Smith, Ruth and Ted Stebbins. Okay. They are telling me, I'm getting the little winking flash, I am finished with the senior news. We've got to have some time left for Tom Reed. So get off the air. All right, you're right. I got a special announcement for you. This is a PSA, public service announcement, just for you.
Think you found every hazard out here today? Think again. The spot you missed could be a killer. That spot on your skin could be skin cancer. If you're a man over 50, you're in a group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the kind that kills one person every hour. That's why your best shot is to check for a spot. It's easy. Follow through and check your skin. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out how. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Okay, here he is, Doc Hamels. He shoots from the hip. You're on, Doc.
Good morning, Congressman Reed, and good morning, Reed, and all of our viewers. I apologize to your entourage here. I came barging through the door, and they looked like I was like the police or something. Reed, I got my cue really quick, and I was still back in the operations room. Well, good morning, everyone. Reed, this week I have a great opportunity that I will be guest speaker for the Bemis Point Seniors group at the Hadley House on. Well, let me think about this, Thursday for lunch. And the reason why I mention this is because, Congressman Reed, I'm going to be talking to some people that want to know what you had to tell me. Because Reed and I, we talk to a lot of senior groups, and of course this is a senior show, and we really try to pick away at what's really going on out there. So I'm going to maybe just make some opening comments and kind of lay the groundwork for today's show. So I'll try not to be offensive, but maybe just...
We're always offensive.
No, I'm the good guy, remember? Well, anyways, Congressman Reed and our viewers, by the way, viewers, this is your opportunity to call in. So the phones are ready, and I'm sure Congressman Reed will be happy to talk with you. He's shaking his head, so that's a good thing. What we're hearing these days is this, and I know that our listeners are doing the same thing. We hear that the seniors have been thrown under the bus. We've been hearing that the medical costs are going through the roof, and that the Medicare, Medicaid is being cut. We're hearing that the COLA, which Reed talks about often, is either going nowhere or is so minuscule that it's being absorbed through the cost of living. We're hearing that just all kinds of services like the Office of the Aging is being slashed. So what we're getting the sense is that the seniors who have put all their time, their years of service, they're veterans, they've been working out there raising families, what we're hearing is that they're the sacrificial lambs. And I know that Reed and I have talked about this at length, and this is just in two guys sitting in a studio talking. These are things that I hear from my own parents, people that I talk on this to out on the street. We read about here locally in the paper. So I hope today that we can have a good, healthy dialogue. And callers, remember, we can cut you off, so please, let's be polite, let's be professional and courteous to our congressman. But actually, the word is, and we've heard it time and time again here, take all the congressmen, throw the bums out, and bring in a new group. Okay? That's the mantra here in Chautauqua County. Tom, you seem like a friendly guy, so throughout this session with us today, we welcome your comments, but please give me something that I can take to the Bemis Point group, because I'm going to be seeing this Thursday at noon. Back to you, Reed, and okay. Congressman Reed.
Right, well, thank you very much. We'll be talking with Congressman Reed. He's very outspoken. He tells it like it is, and he probably wonders why this cat food is here. The seniors, unfortunately, through mostly the Congress, and I'm sure it's not you, but they have been given they get their Social Security, which they paid 50 years for, most of them 60 years.
Sure.
Most. They have a COLA built in, cost of living adjustment, but they cheat on it. They have these phony federal figures, the so-called core, which adjusts constantly and everything.
Antiquated.
And it's turned out that in the last 10 years, according to the statisticians who do follow these things closely, the seniors are getting 47 cents on a dollar. It's no wonder all the seniors, the new wage for seniors is the kind of, let's say it's kind of a phony baloney mortgage where you have a reverse mortgage. Well, they give you a lot less than your house is worth, but you're guaranteed to stay there as long as you live, but it's already figured out how long you'll live in terms of what money you have. Then they get the house, because you're never going to be able to pay it back. A lot of seniors can't.
Yeah.
And so that's because they're starving to death. There is no money in their Social Security anymore. When you're getting 47 cents on a dollar's worth, you're in trouble. And this is the reason I have cat food here, is because during the Great Depression, seniors ate cat food because it was cheaper and it was basically nutritious. I'm going to incidentally write a cat food recipe book. The tuna isn't bad. You put a lot of mayo in it, and the beef strips are pretty good, but you have to rinse them in hot water first. And you add a little gravy to them. It's not bad. It's very cheap and very filling.
Wow.
So at any rate, I hope you take that back to Congress.
Well, I appreciate that.
They are not giving the seniors a real call.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that problem.
Okay. Now, this is your turn. First of all, tell us a little where you came from.
Well, I appreciate it. First of all, Reed, I just definitely appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. And
well, I appreciate you coming.
With a great name like Reed.
Yeah.
We are not related, but I look forward to many times coming over here.
Back somewhere in the eons of time, we probably are related.
Probably are somewhere.
Not recently. We're not first cousins anyway.
No, we're not. But so we appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today, and to come over and introduce ourselves to your viewers and to yourself, to kind of tell a little bit about who we are and why we're running for Congress and why we ran for Congress for the first time. I'm part of that freshman class. November 2010 I went in, so I'm new down in Washington. But I'll tell you, it's all about ultimately saving this country. It's about, I have a daughter and a son. They're 12 and 14 now, and they always make me, they age up in July, Reed, so I always get that wrong when I give them the old birth dates and they start yelling at me, autumn and mildew. But they're 12 and 14 now, and that's what made me run the first time. And really what it is it's dealing with the issues in an open, transparent way, and not being afraid to take the calls. And we have a town hall after this session today. We do town halls all the time because we want to talk to people. We want to listen to people. And what having grown up here in Western New York, upstate New York, I live in a house my grandfather built back in 1922 over in Corning, and lived there all my life. And next time,
followed right in the footsteps of Amo, of course.
Wow, Amo.
Amo owned Corning.
Yeah, he did. He did. Well, funny story. As an aside, that's how my grandfather came to the States.
Oh, really?
He was a cabin boy on a steamship, and Amo's father was riding from Europe back to America. And after a week, Amo Sr. said to my grandpa Fritz, "You want to come to the States? I have a job for you." And my grandpa was the butler for the Houghton family for eons. He had actually Amo on his knee. And Amo and I talk. I talk to Amo at least once or twice a month on a regular basis. Just a real gem, statesman. And that's what we're trying to do in Congress.
Well, Amo visited us often. And I wanted to give a nod to Tim Copine, who is your public relations manager or director or something.
Yep.
Great job. He does a great job. And he also is a Westfield boy.
He grew up in Westfield.
And his father, Roger, I grew up with in school.
Oh, my goodness.
And his brother is in the fire department, and he was in my company. So I guess we have a connection here.
What a small world.
Besides being Reeds.
Well, small world. And that's important to me on the staff. Everyone on my staff but one person out of the 18 have a tie to the district in one way or another. And that's very important to me, that we make sure that when we're down in Washington, we're representing the district, because it's home. Okay. And I'm one of the members who gets out of D.C. every week, because my family stayed in Corning. That was the deal I struck with my wife. And we firmly believe that we're going to keep our roots in Corning, and I get home every weekend and spend time with them, and then go back to work, but then come back every weekend.
Yeah, in your bio, I see you went to local school too, Alfred, and as did my daughter across the street. And we have, did I see 12 people in a family here?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 12.
Youngest kid of 12,
yeah.
Can you imagine that? Yeah. You're the one who's turning out pretty well, I guess, although maybe not. You're a congressman.
Depends on the perspective.
It depends on how you look at it.
I still sit at the children's table at Thanksgiving dinner. They still put me out there. But I got 8 older sisters, 3 older brothers, and it's a great family. My father passed when I was 2, Reed, and watching my mom raise the last 6 of us all by herself, it's always resonated with me. So I am very sensitive to the issues that impact seniors, because my mom raised us on a Social Security check and a military death benefit check.
Exactly what my mother did. My father passed away when I was 7. And he was in the armed forces, and she got the check, she got the military. And that's how I went to college. I got the military benefits. The back then it was $90 a month was the GI benefit for college.
Nice.
But that enabled me to go to college.
And that's critical. That was one of the rules my mom and dad had for all of us. Every single one of us had some type of degree, be it a 4-year degree. I was the one who started a law practice, got my law degree. But I have a sister who cuts hair, so she has a cosmetology degree, anywhere from a business degree, but anywhere in between, because Mom always said that education is the key to your future. And she made us all promise, and she promised us that each of us would have those skills and have that degree, and I firmly believe in that, and that's why I'm proud my kids are going to be going on to college and going forward. We've already cut that deal with them, and to make sure that they understand.
Yeah.
That's important.
My kids were saving for college when they were toddlers. And they all had bank accounts and everything. And the whole game plan is, it's unthinkable you don't go to college. You have to go to college, or at least some sort of advanced
some type of degree.
Yeah. Well, now you've been congressman for a very short time. You haven't had a chance to probe and push and evolve the Congress itself. But what is the big logjam here? Everybody's saying it's basically it's unable to move, unable to do anything because of the Republican-Democratic deadlock, we'll put it that way. What's going on there? What's the inside dope on that?
Well, first I'll start by telling my experience. My experience is there's a lot more positive things happening right now that aren't getting reported on. Mm-hmm. I think the reports about the gridlock sell a lot of papers. They sell a lot of headlines, and people want their 30 seconds on Fox News or MSNBC, and so that causes some of the gridlock there that people get reported on. But what's going on behind the scenes, being a part of that freshman class, is I'm seeing kind of this clearing of the air. I can tell you a story. When I was first there in the first 6 months, we had a bill come to the Florida House, and we're debating it, and there's an old member who had been around 20, 30 years on our side of the aisle. And I said, well, why don't we go over and talk to the other side? This one gentleman had the problem, and see if we can't resolve this. And he said, Tom, you won't remember, but 20 years ago he did this to me and this and that. And I said, well, 20 years ago I was pretty much a kid. So I'll go over and I'll talk to him. And so I did, and that's kind of set the tone. And because of those, and we resolved the issue, and we have a willingness to go across the aisle. And you're seeing more and more, I'm seeing more and more of that, Reed. But it's not getting reported on. And there's some big long jabs down there because I think a lot of the old guard, the establishment, is kind of reacting to this change in culture that the freshman class brings to the table. So they're trying to protect their kingdoms and their turf. But at the end of the day, too, there's a lot of, there truly needs to be a philosophical debate in America, and I think that's what this November 2012 election is all about, is that there's going to be two visions of how to move forward in America. And the one vision that I believe in is a vision founded in the Constitution, founded on the basis that we are a limited federal government. Let the government closest to the people, the state, the county, the local governments, be the ones that govern the most over our lives, rather than having this one-size-fits-all type of philosophy that's on display down in Washington. And primarily a government that learns to live within its means, because we have a $16 trillion national debt. And that's a real problem. That's a real crisis. It's on the horizon. It's a fiscal crisis, currency crisis, and a debt crisis, and we're adding to it at the rate of $1.3 trillion. Now the trick, in my opinion, is we got to tackle that debt, and one of the ways we have to tackle that debt is to reform our spending, cut out all the waste, fraud, and abuse. But on the revenue side of the equation, I'm a firm believer that what we can do is create the jobs of today and tomorrow to grow our economy, because as more people are employed, as more people have those jobs, they can contribute to the funding of the government, in the sense that more people contributing, that's a growth policy, and that's a growth belief that I bring to the table. So it's about balancing our budget, but at the same time growing our economy, and I think that's the path forward, and that's what we believe in, that's what we'll continue to do.
Okay, well, it's been pointed out that, what is it, every man, woman, child, baby even owes something like $1 zillion.
$55,000
a piece.
A piece.
Yeah.
And just think about that, Reed. I mean, I think about it quite a bit. Every man, woman, and child, every child that's born today in America starts his or her life owing over $55,000 as a result of that $16 trillion national debt. That's just not right. It's not sustainable, and it jeopardizes this great country that we all believe in, and that's why we're going to Washington. And I so appreciate Doc's comments on the entry, because I know some seniors, and we do town halls. We do the most town halls of any member in the Northeast, and I hear it, and I hear the concern that seniors think that they're on the forefront of the cuts and the reforms. And what I always will say to every senior who comes to town hall, we're going to stand with you. We're going to stand with you. But the problem is that we got $16 trillion in national debt, and it's forcing us to have to make these hard decisions. And the way we're going to do it is try to grow the economy, but at the same time, we got to rein in this spending, and we got to come together as a nation and say, okay, where can we cut? Where can we downsize the federal government? Because it just can't sustain itself at this level.
One of the comments when I noted that Ryan had been tapped for the vice presidency is that he was spearheading, as a lot of Republicans were, the cut, basically doing away with Medicare, which is a senior program.
Yeah.
And this is what keeps a lot of seniors alive. We're very concerned about that.
And rightfully so. And that's where, you know, I've talked with Paul at length, being on the Ways and Means Committee with him. We've developed, first we got there, we were on transportation, we went to rules and went to Ways and Means, but spending the last few months with Paul, you know, what we're talking about, what he's talking about, is recognizing that Medicare and Social Security, and these were never talked about before. These were the third rail of politics, and because elected officials worried more about their own tails than taking care of the problems of the day, they would push them off, and they would live in this world of denial. And we got real problems with these programs. But the point that Paul says, and that I want to stress today, is that any type of reforms when it comes to Medicare or Social Security can be done right now in the manner that the people that are on them, retirees that are watching the show today, we can honestly look them in the eye and say, nothing is going to change for you.
Accepting inflation. We got a call.
Oh, great. We got a call. That's perfect.
We got a couple, but we'll take them one at a time.
Sure.
Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning, Reed. How are you?
Fine. What's up?
My question is regarding education of anybody 50 and above. I mean, my dad lost his job probably about a year or two ago, and he's been struggling ever since, and just wondering, he can't really go back to college because what he wants to do, they don't really have any money for, and he doesn't have any money, obviously, because he has a job. Just wondering what you have plans to do to help people in the 50 and above range to go back to college or get better jobs, because most jobs nowadays require some sort of college education.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Great question, and we were on a conference committee, and this issue came up. We were on a conference committee that dealt with the payroll tax rate at the end of December and into the early part of 2012. And in that conversation was also the issue of unemployment and extending unemployment, and whether or not 99 weeks, and we were downsizing it to 63 weeks. And as part of those reforms in unemployment, I was a strong advocate for that as you're on unemployment, we should be offering programs to have folks be re-educated, to have people in a course of education or some type of training, be it at a GED level, be it at a college level. And it was amazing to me, the arguments that I heard in response to that. And I had a senator on the other side of the aisle, a senator in one of our open meetings, say that, you know, this really doesn't matter to people that are over 40, over 45, because by that point in time they don't need to go back to school. It's not really worthwhile for them. And I was flabbergasted, because I firmly believe that there should be opportunities. As this caller points out, her father had a job, lost a job, so as part of that unemployment reform that we've been advocating for, there should be educational requirements that retool our workforce and give them the tools to enter back into the workforce rather than receiving an unemployment check. I firmly believe we should support policies that create paychecks. And so there's a reform that we've advocated for that would directly answer the call that's been placed there. But overall, it's about strengthening the economy so there's opportunities for all. And I firmly believe how we're going to strengthen the economy is opening up the private sector, getting the weight of Washington on the regulation side, the tax burdens that are coming out with a 70,000-page tax code, Reed, that needs to be reformed. It needs to be made competitive by simplifying it, broadening it, and put our private sector in a position to lead us out of this economic turmoil. And if more people are put to work, there's more opportunities for all ages. And that's where we try to work every day and day in and day out.
There you go. Thank you, caller. Hope that answers your questions. If you send me in a stamped envelope, I'll send you $5 off at the Lakeview. How about that?
Perfect.
It's pretty good. You can get a dinner over there for $8, you know.
Good deal.
All right. We're with Congressman Tom Reed. And Tom, you're the congressman in the 29th District.
Correct.
Which is not our district. Right now we have Higgins, who's our congressman, but they blended the districts again. Undone the job that they did a few years ago when they made us part of Erie County, especially part of Buffalo. We were the little tail on the giant buffalo dog, you know. And we never had a chance. We wouldn't have a prayer to have a congressman in out of Chautauqua County. But now we're back pretty much into an agricultural, like the territory, which the district was similar to what Amo had, as I recall.
It is very similar. Mm-hmm. And actually, when the maps came out, Reed, we were Amo and I talked right afterwards, and he was very happy. He's like, Tom, this is the district I wanted 10 years ago, essentially, because it makes sense when you look at the map. I mean, from Chautauqua County all the way over to my home county of Steuben County, Corning, and then we go over to Tioga County, and then we kind of come up in the Finger Lakes around Geneva, Watkins Glen, Seneca Falls. There's a common set of interests there. There's a common set of agricultural interests that unite the district, a common type of people. You know, having grown up in this area, and the next time I move from this area, we'll be in a box. But I'm never leaving this. I'm never leaving this area. This is home. There's a common type of people, common type of issues, and a common commitment to solving problems. And that's what I bring to the table, and that's what I believe in. I'm not one of these bomb throwers in Washington, D.C. I'm really about, you know, meeting with people. We're part of the Go Big Coalition, which is a coalition of bipartisan members, Democrat and Republican, to tackle the issues of the day. Steny Hoyer on the other side kind of leads the charge. He's a Democratic member from Maryland. It's about solving problems. And that's why we also have such a great team with Senator Kathy Young and our local who's endorsed us and works with us hand in hand, because from my perspective, I'm a firm believer, it doesn't matter who gets the issue resolved for constituents or for people of our area. It's about solving the problem, and that's how I am. That's who I am, and being the youngest of 12, I think that's one of the benefits of living in such a large household. You cannot have an ego in our house, I guarantee you that.
Not with that many, yeah. Well, as I indicated before, this is not an infomercial. It is not a campaign program, and I think you've done enough campaigning now.
Okay, then we'll end that.
Well, no, I think what you plan to do is important.
It really is.
It's a real challenge in today's Congress. I know that, because you may not be moribund, but I'm convinced that the action ain't there lately.
Yeah.
But now, you've been there for just a short while, and you said you plan to spend the rest of your life here, probably in Congress, because I think 85% of incumbency is the rule in the Congress, isn't it? Something around that? Something
like that, but I will tell you, we've put a self-imposed term limit on ourselves. I believe in turnover. I believe in that's good for the institution, it's good for the country, and it's what our founding fathers believed in my opinion. When I read the arguments at that point in time when they were developing the Constitution, you know, they thought the House of Representatives should be what I believe it should be, and that's a House of the people, and where you go to Washington, you do your public service, but you come back home.
What's the term limitation you self-impose?
I've put a 12-year term limit on myself.
How are you ever going to get to be chairman of the Ways and Means? This is the guy that calls the shots in the United States Congress.
Well, there's a lot of activity going on there. We'll just take it one day at a time. But
well, that's one of the ways you get power in Washington, is you bring that same guy back over and over and over until he's not quite in a box, but he becomes chairman of the committee. And chairman of Ways and Means is the third or fourth most powerful position in Washington, I understand.
It's a very powerful position.
We had another famous Reed, Dan Reed, who was chairman, and he just pressed a button, and we had that gorgeous harbor down in Westfield and other things. Just like Kathy Young, God bless her, she brings a lot of dough into this county. You know, she brings more money in than any other state senator has brought in for her time in office.
Yeah. Well, it's about definitely having the ability to protect the interests of the district. And
You know, they carry on crazy things about earmarks and things like that. Hey, this is what it's all about, is you know where certain specific funds are needed. And we're not talking about bridges to nowhere. They're needed in very vital areas in your own district, and I think it's important you have the ability to direct a certain amount of funding.
So long as those earmarks are not abused, and
as I say, not the bridge to nowhere.
Yeah, the bridge to nowhere, and that's where, you know, I firmly am committed to infrastructure spending, road, highways. I believe that's appropriate role of the federal government, and we'll continue to advocate for that. And you know, one of the things that you need to do, though, when we're doing that earmarking process that they did before, there was a lot of abuses there, as you point out, the bridges to nowhere,
which gave it a bad name.
Yep.
And actually, it's a good name. We got a call. You want to take another call?
Sure.
We got two more.
Nothing.
Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning, Congressman.
Oh, good morning. It's always Tom.
Mr. Powers. And Mr. Powers.
It's always Tom.
Call him Tom.
Tom. Okay.
You can call me Reed.
I just so happened that it fell into what it's to be. Right at this moment, as we're listening to your program and watching it, Representative Paul Ryan is accepting the vice presidential position under running with Mr. Romney. And as I understand it, Congressman, I just heard you say just a few minutes ago that there are not going to be any changes under Medicare. Did I misunderstand what you said?
No, under the proposal by Paul Ryan's proposal is that there will be no impacts to Medicare for the folks that are 56 and older, the people that are on the system.
I did misunderstand, for the folks that are 56 or older.
Yeah.
But those that have about 10 years to go, now they are going to have major differences in theirs. Is that correct?
There will have to be some changes, and that's what Paul's talking about. Because right now, if we do nothing, we just continue the status quo, and there's folks that are advocating for that. The whole system collapses upon itself because it just financially doesn't work because of the burden of how the system is right now. And so the problem is if we do nothing, you go 10 years down the road, then Medicare collapses, and that's a real
we are going to go 10 years down the road doing nothing, according to what you just said.
Well, no, because we would change it for folks that are 55 and younger. So as those folks get into...
Well, they aren't going to be on it for another 10 years.
Yeah, but they'll go into a new program, a new Medicare type of program, and therefore with those reforms you make it sustainable so that people can rely and utilize Medicare going forward.
I guess my biggest problem here is I see that we're going to cut programs for the middle class, lower middle class, and the poor. But I don't see too much in the way of the people that could most afford to be paying more for things. I don't see cutting taxes for them. I mean, raising taxes for them to help offset some of this other stuff that we're going to do all the... And I also have one other thing I need to mention.
Sure.
Congressman Ryan was in under Bush, he was serving also, and under Bush he raised taxes. I mean, he didn't raise taxes. We funded 2 wars that were not paid for at all, which are now a major part of our economy. And there were a couple other programs that he is now saying he wants to eliminate or get rid of that he also voted for under President Bush. I just find this a little discerning.
Well, I appreciate that. And, you know, a lot of guys down in Washington spend some time trying to point back to Bush and different presidents.
I'm not pointing Bush. I'm going by Ryan's votes. And
Back
yet
then.
Now what he's saying, which do not tally with how he's voted.
Yeah, because I think what I recognize is that 10 years ago, where our national debt was at, now it's up to $16 trillion. The $16 trillion of national debt is a serious problem,
Yes,
and we're growing it even significantly more. And so what Paul may have voted for 10, 12 years ago is not an economic reality of $16 trillion of national debt.
Well, did nobody 10 years ago think that if we spend huge amount of monies that are unfunded, that the bill's going to come due?
Yeah, amen. And I think they knew it, but they acted like traditional elected officials who didn't want to have the hard conversations and do the right thing.
And the third rail.
And the third rail of politics, and they put us behind this 8-ball. I mean, I don't enjoy having to have these conversations, but I'm going to be honest about them. I'm going to be honest about them because we need to protect them. We need to protect Medicare. We need to protect Social Security. And if we accept the argument that, well, you can't touch Medicare, you can't touch Social Security for people that are 55 and younger and just maintain the status quo, that puts real seniors and real future seniors at risk when those systems collapse. And that's just, as a responsible human being, as a responsible person, and a person who ran for Congress to do something, not because of a title, you can't have that conversation anymore. The reality of the situation in the day has to be addressed and dealt with openly and honestly. And what we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do, is do it in a way that doesn't impact people that are on the systems, in Medicare and Social Security in particular, because they don't have an opportunity, they don't have the ability to go back to work,
They can't go out and get a job. That's a problem with inflation and no COLA.
No COLA.
An 85-year-old's not going to get a job stacking shelves at Walmart, and he's dead in the water if he doesn't get his COLA.
Exactly. And
well, I appreciate what you're saying, but
yeah.
I also had one other thing to bring up, which
Sure.
since I'm a senior, I'm losing it. So I guess it doesn't matter. But anyhow, I do appreciate what you're saying. However, I just find it ludicrous, kind of, that 10 years ago we didn't have the vision to know, whatever was going to happen was probably going to happen because we have all these programs that are unfunded. But as I'm reading it now, most of this is being blamed on President Obama, and he was left with a country that was an eyelash away from a depression. And it seems to me, if we're going to be fair about things, we can't blame this all on Mr. Obama. There's a lot of blame to go around.
Well, thank you very much, caller.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you a $5 gift certificate to the lovely little restaurant at the foot of the hill here, the Lakeview. And I hope you have a good day. And
I hope so, too. It looks like it's going to be one.
Well, you'll be back, won't you?
Oh, numerous times.
This lady,
Absolutely.
I can see she's not finished yet.
No, I so appreciate the input. I so appreciate the comments.
Incidentally, she did make a mention of the fact that what kind of program are we going to have now for the new people, and it kind of reminds me of an ex-governor immediately after his commentary of Oregon many years ago. I think it was Oregon, where his comment was, they said, what should seniors do? And he said, they have a duty to die. So maybe that's the new Medicare program. Who cares? Who knows?
No, definitely don't support that.
I'm sure you wouldn't, publicly anyway.
Not even privately.
Okay, we're with our probably next congressman, Tom Reed. He is not our congressman right now. He's congressman of the district next door. But they blended that district with our district and took us out of Buffalo and gave us another shot, a possible shot of Chautauqua County having a congressman. There's no possibility before he could have even been nominated. They roll you over when you got, what is it, 100 voters for every one or something. All right, Tom is here. He's good enough to come in and open himself up to some calls, and incidentally, they're coming in mean.
No, I appreciate it.
There we go. Well, that's the point. I had a cousin. I'm so related to everybody in Chautauqua County. My great-great-great-great-grandfather was a settler here, and related to everybody. And our assemblyman, Bill Parman, who was quite a gifted guy. Well, I'll tell that story some other time. We got a couple of callers waiting here. Let's get
Sounds
to
good.
them. Or do you want to talk? I mean, it's your time.
Well, one point I would also like to respond
Sure.
to the caller's question about, because I hear it quite a bit. I hear about, well, if the rich would just contribute their fair share, let's raise taxes on the top 2%. The reality of that situation and that argument is that it's not dealing with the issue in an open and honest way. Because if you raise the taxes on the top 2%, for example, which President Obama wants to do, that's his proposal in his budget, you're talking about raising $70 billion worth of additional revenue. Just the arithmetic of what that represents, not the negative impacts of raising taxes and how it impacts the economy, just what that brings in. And you got a $1.3 trillion budget deficit. every year.
So it's a drop in the bucket.
So it's a drop in the bucket, and for people to go out there, and I've heard President Obama is kind of running his whole campaign on that. It just doesn't deal with the issue, and it doesn't take care of sustaining the government long term. What I would be more interested in is looking at what causes the problem, in my opinion, and that's the spending side of the ledger, and a federal government that's beyond any type of vision, in my opinion, that the Founding Fathers thought of and what the Constitution calls for.
Caller, where you're on.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's up?
Congressman Reed. Many of us have been wondering, is what they call now Obamacare going to stay? We've been watching so many people unemployed without medical care, without medical insurance, and so on. What's going to become of that program, and will there be something that will be in place for people to buy affordable health insurance and protect those that can't?
We're only, Tom, you would be aware of this, we're the only country in the entire world that pays insurance companies to give us back money for our health care. And they cream off, according to the estimates of everybody and facts, about 30% of all the health care in their profits and their payments to their boards of directors and their basic salaries.
Administration costs.
Administration. So 30% is creamed off there. We're the only country that does this. Is this ever going to change, like the guy said?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to deal with the issue of rising health care costs, and there's two solutions to go forward on it. One is a solution of complete national health care, and Obamacare is a version of that, or a step before you go to what they call a single-payer health care system, a national health care system. I don't believe that's the path forward in order to retain or lower or restrain these ever-increasing health care costs. I do believe that the more we bring market forces to bear in the healthcare industry, we have a better shot of containing these costs. And by that, what I mean is opening up the healthcare transaction, making it much more transparent so that it's not a situation between a bureaucrat and an administrator, but it's a situation more between a patient and a doctor, and everyone knows what's going on. Because a lot of the financial decisions in the healthcare industry are cut between that administrator and a bureaucrat behind closed doors. And we got to open it up. We also have to do things that make the utilization of healthcare much more efficient, so that people actually, if they're choosing to go to their healthcare provider, they make an informed choice of, well, maybe not running down to the ER. And we see this in the Medicaid program, where the knee-jerk reaction is, well, we just go to the ER and they'll take care of it. The ER is the most ineffective, inefficient delivery system of healthcare in America that's out there. And so we have to make a utilization reform that changes that dynamic.
That's why the hospitals are all going bankrupt, I might add, because people who don't have insurance get sicker and sicker and then wind up in the...
and that's where, and then to the reforms that we advocate for, is making preventive and maintenance care part of those reforms, so that we reward doctors and providers for making the patient, from a patient's perspective, healthier, so they're not putting as much of a demand on the healthcare system. And so those reforms to me make sense, and we've been advocating for them. And then finally, tort reform. I'm a lawyer by training, but I support tort reform, because the frivolous lawsuits that are out there not only cost us significant dollars when it comes to the judgments that have to be paid out, but the defensive medicine that we've talked to, numerous doctors across the entire district, across the state, big money. And it drives an inefficiency into the system that has to be tackled. So tort reform is not, by any means, is not going to solve the problem, but it's a tool in the arsenal that's going to...
Stop the lawsuits. We got a couple of calls. You want to take
Great.
Good morning, caller. We'll take another. You're on.
Good morning, Reed, and good morning, Congressman Reed. It's so good to see you on the show.
It's always Tom. It's always Tom.
Okay, Tom, thank you. I wanted to introduce myself to you. I'm Linda Spalding with the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging.
Excellent.
I direct a senior employment program that comes under Title V funding under the Older Americans Act with the Department of Labor. I think you've met my boss, Dr. Mary Ann Spanos, the director of the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging.
I have. We had a great meeting, Linda. I so appreciate you calling. Had a great meeting of all the directors of the Office of Aging, except for Allegheny County, over in Allegheny County, and we had a great session. We spent about an hour and a half together discussing the issues that are impacting the offices and making sure that we're being a strong advocate for them. And we can tell you we're firmly committed to it.
Well, thank you very much. I would like to keep you very informed about what we're doing in our senior employment program. We do have these transitional jobs that are kind of like a training to work program for anyone 55 and over who meet the guidelines. And also we have computer training for seniors in the community that's free. It's basic. It's on a one-to-one basis where people learn at their own pace on a special module with the computer, and we've trained well over 700 people in less than 2 years.
Well, thank you very much. We have several other calls, so if you want to say a final word, you're on.
Well, it's great to see you on the show, and I look forward to being in contact with you.
I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to our relationship moving forward.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, it's funny, she talks about technology.
What's
she talks about technology for older citizens.
Well, we were just talking about education.
Education, and it's perfect. It's a great segue. But, you know, about a couple months ago, I got my first email from AMO.
Oh.
You know, Amo and I, we do a lot of correspondence verbally, but also handwritten, but he sent me an email. So it goes to show you that...
he's catching up.
Amen.
Okay, we're with Tom Reed. He's running for Congress. We have in our area, because they did combine him with Brian Higgins. Brian, is he running now in his own district now?
Yeah, the Buffalo district.
He's going to still continue there, probably. But we'll have a new one. And I can't even think of the name of the person who's running against you, but whatever. I know you don't want to mention it either.
He's a young man from Ithaca.
Yeah, you never mention your opponent's name, though.
Young man from Ithaca who's running, and we met him a few times, and I just look forward to the debate because we're not afraid of it, and it needs to happen.
Okay, well, we're running low on time here. We got several other phone calls, but I had a question. Well, let's get the phone call. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning. My name, I have a couple of questions for Mr. Reed.
Sure.
Number one, what is his stand on cutting the cost that hospitals and pharmacies are charging? Because I went to the hospital over in Westfield a couple months ago.
And you lost an arm and a leg.
No. They charged me $100 for two acetaminophen. Now, come on.
I'm sorry,
two pills, Excedrin.
For $100.
Yeah. But remembering that they have to keep the hospital open so they can give out the Excedrin.
And another question I have is, what can he do to help and get more information about the cancer and stuff that we, the people in the Buffalo and Erie County, are exposed to because we are a high rate for it?
He's not so concerned about Buffalo and Erie County anymore. He's concerned about...
No, but I mean, he can still help Tom Higgins get stuff through.
Oh, sure. He teams up, don't you?
Yeah, we've worked very closely with Brian and Kathy Hochul, the other congresswoman just to the north of us, because I really take a regional approach to it. I believe, you know, this is our home area, this is our upstate area, and there's a lot we can do when we team up, and especially when we work together on common issues. We've done that for West Valley, we've done that for Emerald Ash Borer, that we saw the invasive bug that was coming into the area. And so we've been working really closely with them. But on the issue of healthcare cost, what the caller is referring to is exactly what one of the root problems in America is, these ever-increasing healthcare costs that have to be contained and brought down. And the way my philosophy looks at it and that I believe in is trying to bring market forces to bear on the healthcare industry in a new way. And right now, the healthcare industry, to me, is something that's not transparent. It's not, the market forces aren't able to be deployed in such a way that pushes the prices down as a result of efficiencies. So we've supported things like the antitrust provisions being repealed in regards to the health insurance agencies. You know, anything that opens it up so that we can actually get to the roots exchanges going on, and then also getting away from a fee-for-service based system that we find ourselves primarily in, and getting into things such as capitated models, and we can get into a little bit of weeds, but things that reward healthiness and more focused on that end of it, rather than the more you bill, the more you get paid, so therefore you have an incentive to have your patients sicker.
Yeah, Tom, one of the things that really seniors are concerned about is the fact that the Congress, not you personally, the Congress receives hundreds of millions of dollars in kickbacks from the healthcare industry, the insurance companies, who are the richest companies in the country now. They bring in over $1 trillion in healthcare costs, creaming off that 30%. Again, are we ever going to get rid of this giant ape on our shoulders?
I think you're going to see...
Only country left.
Yeah. I think you're going to see a completely new delivery of healthcare in America that's going to put a real spotlight on the abuses that you're talking about, Reed, and that's going to have to change, because in our future country, this type of cost escalation is just not feasible.
Okay.
And so we're going to see a new way.
Reed dropped a bombshell. He tells us, Reed is the leader in the Senate. He tells us that Romney he pays 14% taxes, theoretically, last year on his $20 million income, which is more than I paid on my nothing income. But Reed says the reason he will not release his taxes, his father released his taxes, almost all people running for office, I'll bet you did too, released their taxes. He will not release any of his recent taxes. He gave him, what, one or two? I guess one's coming up.
Couple years, I think.
Couple
years worth.
And Reed says it's very simple. He didn't pay any taxes. It's not that he's a crook. He's using the tax code in his offshore islands, corporations, and tricky things that these lawyers work out to avoid taxes. It's not. It's tax avoidance, which is perfectly legal. What do you think about that?
Well, first, what Harry Reid did, I have to strongly object to, because he is making claims and allegations that are just completely based on no information. He won't tell who said this, and if that's the standard of the leader of the Senate, I'll tell you, we have gotten to a level of politics that just is despicable and not good for the country. But the bottom line on the issue of Romney's taxes, you know, we fully support comprehensive tax reform and getting to a tax code whose primary goal should be, and what I believe in, is raising revenue to cover the bills for the federal government, not this social engineering that we see in the tax code, or the special interests, or the lobbying loopholes,
like
as you're
in
referring.
New York State, which has $10 a pack for cigarettes.
Yep.
They're using the constitutional ability to tax, to change habits.
And that's why we have 70,000 pages of tax code in America. We need to streamline it. We need to simplify it. We need to start all over and get back to the root goal of the tax code.
I just got this announcement. We're out of here.
Hey!
I want to give you just 30 seconds to close up.
Well, Reed, I thank you for the opportunity to be over here. I look forward to seeing you again on many occasions. And just to all the people out there, if there's anything we can do, just reach out to us, read.house.gov, and it doesn't matter if you're in the district or out of the district. This is our home. We're here to be a voice for upstate New York and western New York, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. Tom Reed, probably the next congressman, who is, for us, he's now a congressman for this district next door. And you're doing a good job. You're working hard. I appreciate your forthrightness, because, you know, people do ask you penetrating questions when you're on this show.
And I so appreciate that.
Right, and you do expose yourself. Okay, I want to criticism.
Yeah, let's... That's good, Reed.
Well, that's the first time that's come up. I want to thank special people who really help out. Chuck Kelsey. I want to thank Devin Taylor, Chris Burt, Randy Burt, Chris Ramaker, Jeff Zook, Don Zenz, and John Hamels, who are the principal people making this possible. Especially want to thank Tom Reed, who gave up his chunk of his time on Saturday morning to come over and be on the air with you. You will come back.
Absolutely.
Good. So we look forward to that. May all that is proud and true and noble abide with you. I'm Reed Powers.